All right, we're back with Melanie of Glaze Craft Windows. Real quickly, this is part of our series on linseed oil paints, and now we're talking about the paints real quick. Melanie was telling me some really cool stuff, so I'll just let her go from here.
Yeah, so linseed paint has been used for centuries on timber and on metal, and it was historically what we used before acrylic or vinyl paint came around, particularly after World War II. There's so many benefits of using linseed paint. It's much more environmentally friendly, but for those of you who own historic homes, one of the big benefits is that you're more likely to get the colors that are historically appropriate, and you're going to get a material on your wood that will help your wood last for a very long time. One of the things I really like about this particular line, Brouns Co, is that they use all of the historic pigments. So pigments were put into paint originally not as an aesthetic thing, but because of the things that these pigments can do. And pigments can be earth-based or they can be metal-based, but they all have some sort of purpose. A lot of us are familiar with lead being in old paint. Lead wasn't just put in because it tasted good. It was there because it kept mildew and mold down, and it also helped to harden the paint. And that's true for everything that's put into paints. So when you're trying to match historic colors or get something that's historically accurate, choosing a linseed paint that is based on the original pigments that would have been used in the last however many centuries, you will get to a far more accurate, indeed very accurate color.
And that's because they're using earthy tones, which are actually really in style right now, again.
Yeah.
And one reason, it's kind of cool when you think about it, why are they using earthy tones? Well, what is linseed oil made out of? It's made out of flax. Mm-hmm. And flax is a natural, farm-grown component. Mm-hmm. And then the pigments that are going into it are generally more earthy in tone, and that's why you're getting almost that more old school look, which is again back in style anyway. So it's really cool. Very interesting stuff.
The other benefit of linseed paint is it goes a really long way.
Right.
So this enormous can here, this is 2 liters. I actually have done over 25 sash with this, and I'm still only this far into the can.
So the 2-liter can, probably like almost, maybe not quite a gallon, will actually go a long way. So when I was first restoring windows, one reason I didn't use linseed oil paint was not only its unfamiliarity to me, even though I'd been hearing a lot of stuff about it, but also it's more expensive.
Yeah.
But while it may be more expensive, it spreads a lot thinner, so you need a lot less.
Right, exactly. So this big can actually covers 2.5 times as much as an acrylic or
like a gallon the same size.
Yeah, exactly, a gallon of the same size. And so yeah, it is more expensive, sticker price when you look at it, but you also don't have any additives in these that are kind of floating away. Like acrylic paint, that about 45% of that evaporates away. Yeah. In this case, this is all going into your wood, so it does go a really long way.
Right, and another part of it is lower VOCs, so when you're sitting there breathing, you're not huffing, paint. And another cool part, so when we're talking about window restoration, windows slide up and down, unless they're casements, but a lot of American windows are sliding up and down, right? When you have windows that are, sliding up and down, it's good to have very hard surfaces. And linseed oil paint, as my understanding is, it dries very hard, correct?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So real quick, what are some of the colors? We got Project White.
There's a whole series of whites because Americans love their white windows, so I've got a selection of that for my clients. Project White is the brightest white that I've been able to find on the market, so it's the most typical what you'd match to something bright. But one of my favorites is Restoration White,
over there on the
right, here, and this is one that if you've seen linseed paint that is aged over a century or two, it has this sort of yellowy tone to it, and that's what you'll get out of the Restoration White. There's also Project White,
that's Haddon Estate,
gray. We've got a lovely,
this one's really cool. This is Amsterdam green. Look at that. And then this one I love, Barn Red. You want to get that red on that old school red? Like everyone's always looking for, how to get that barn color? There you go.
That is exactly right. So, and then Cambridge No. 7 is another really lovely white that I like to use.
Yeah, very
But depending on your paint supplier, they'll have any range from 10 colors to up to 40 some.
Yeah, it's really neat. Real quick, do you want to grab the primer? So if you're painting over wood, you would just use, we have another video on primer, but you would use their standard primer, okay? And if you're painting over metal, they have a metal primer. And you would paint over metal like with steel windows or a lot of windows, for example, in Texas, the top of the casing has a little tin piece to help keep water from getting in. So,
and with the regular primer, if you're painting on wood, you can make your own primer, and we have another video on that.
So it's very cool. It's very easy to work with. And our, in the last video, we'll also show how you just keep the brushes by dipping them overnight in linseed oil. You just keep them in the oil, and you can use that brush every day, which is really cool. So, all right, hope this was helpful, and just trying to show a little bit about this. Thanks. All right, we're back real quick. We just wanted to quickly show you the actual colors. We're like, oh, why don't we just show them how cool these colors are? These are not been mixed in well, so she's gonna mix them.
Yeah, you can see the linseed oil has come up to the top, and
right.
the pigment has gone to the bottom. So this is pretty cool. Like, see it stir in. This should probably be stirred for at least, this little can, maybe at least 3 minutes to make sure that everything is really well integrated. But you can already see how white it's getting, right?
Yeah, it's really.
So that's the Project White.
Very neat. I love how you're just stirring it with, and you could do a couple sashes with just this little amount, right?
Oh yeah. So that I would stir for a little while longer, but let's see how the red goes.
Okay, so this one is called Barn Red. It's a very pretty color. So if you want to match the color of an old American barn or an old Swedish barn,
this is the color you want.
Yeah. It's really, really pretty.
Yeah.
It's almost almost a maroon, but not quite.
It's like ketchup.
Yeah. Ketchup and consistency. Yeah, I guess color too, huh?
Yeah. And then we've also got some green over here,
So
which
this
was
one
already
is called,
stirred.
This one is called Amsterdam Green. On the camera here, it's almost looking black, but it's quite a pretty color. So, boy, that white though. All right, so we just wanted to show that kind of what they look like. All right.